And I have a belief system that says everyone has a reason they were born. You're not a happy accident. And when you're pursuing what you love, you're doing what you were born to do. And the output that you'll achieve doing that is way higher than doing something that you just do for the money. If passion and purpose drive your life, the money will follow. Mark Twain had a famous quote, should be up there. And the quote was, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Because the day you found out why, you got in touch with the passion in your life and what you were born to do. Next item on my list, and by the way, these are not in any order. Okay, this is not the highest, the second highest, the third highest. They're not in any order. This one is not in any order either. And capital is king. Anybody ever heard that statement before? Capital is king? All right, yeah. Okay, and don't we all feel bad because we don't have any? Or we don't have enough? Yeah. After today, you'll never worry about that again. Here's why. First of all, if you're ever going to have enough capital, you have to keep the king's hands out of your pocket. Now, here in Australia, I'm told that you guys have an absolute bare tax service here. And they've done a really good job of intimidating everybody about if you don't do it their way, you're in big trouble. Rules. And they have to go by the rules. And what's really interesting about those rules is those rules have left room an amazing amount of things that you can do to minimize or eliminate your taxes. And if there's any question in your mind about it, look at Google, look at all of these major companies who earn fortunes here in Australia and do not pay much anything in the way of taxes. Now, every entrepreneur has to learn to keep the government's hands out of their pocket. Why? Because that's the biggest single drain on your ability to accumulate capital. And if you don't accumulate capital, you cannot build your business if you're growing internally. You need to carry more inventory. You need to have a big facility. You need to hire more people. There's all kinds of things you need to do. If you don't have the cash, your ability as an entrepreneur is to grow not only your business, but to grow the economy. You, as an entrepreneur, are the engine that drives commerce. And if capital is removed from your pocket, you're impeded in your ability to do it. And one of the things that we do, by the way, at National Diversified Funding Corporation is we work all over the world helping people to minimize and eliminate their taxes. And it's an essential part of the problem. I need a new hookup?
Yes.
All right. Can I talk for you? Yes, I can talk for you. All right, that's what mannequins do. All right, I guess I'm rewired. Now, you notice this quote. You have to keep the king's hand out of your pocket. It came from a gentleman by the name of Aristotle Onassis. Who knows who he was? Everybody know who he was? Married Jackie Kennedy, right? Everybody knows that? Okay. Jackie Kennedy was the epitome of refinement and elegance. Aristotle Onassis was crude. Brilliant in finance, but crude. And people who were alive during then, my generation of folks, always wondered how these two ever got together. But he was one of the wealthiest men in the world. He was a Greek shipping magnate worth billions. That was what he attributed as part of his ability to make billions, was he learned how to keep the government's hand out of his pocket. No matter where he did it, no matter where he went, that's the first thing he looked at is how do I keep my cash in my company. Now, he's also the guy that said this. And for those of you who can't read that, I'll read it to you. This is a guy who bought 5 tankers and used financial leverage, okay? He used financial leverage. And his quote was, 5 tankers, and the only time I put my hand in my pocket was to scratch my balls. Crude, but colorful. It really says something, okay? And the reason I wanted to share that quote with you is because later on we're going to be talking about financial leverage. And we're going to talk about how we not only buy 5 tankers without putting our hand in our pocket, we're going to talk about how we buy whole companies and not have to put our hand in our pocket. And lest it gets lost in the translation from Greek to English, if you have balls, you don't need cash. Balls are more important than money. And this is the one that kills me. They can even be more important than brains. And I'm serious about that. Business does not belong to the meek. The meek may inherit the earth, but they're not going to inherit your business. Okay? Your business requires someone who has leadership ability, who takes chances, takes risks, and works hard to make things happen. And history favors the bold. So capital is king. Keep the government's hand out of your pocket. Accumulate your capital. Use it to build your business. And in turn, you'll be building the economy stronger than anything the government would do with your money. The day I found entrepreneur heaven. I'm not going to get into that one during this talk right now. And the reason is because it is the center of the talk I'm going to give later on today. But since I'm giving the most important things that I've learned, I can't admit this one. And the reason is because financial leverage used to acquire other companies can multiply by 10 the amount of wealth that you can create during your lifetime. And that's what I'm going to spend an hour and a half this afternoon showing you exactly how to do that. Chapter and verse, step by step, so that you can replicate it. And I'll be covering that in the session called The Inside Secrets of How to Achieve Quantum Growth in Your Business. How I bought my first manufacturing company with no cash out of my pocket And I really twinge every time I put my hand in my pocket, lest you think ill of me, and how others have done it, and more importantly, how you can too. Number 5, perception is reality. It would be a great planet if the only thing that mattered was truth. It'd be an interesting planet if everybody always told the truth. It would be an interesting place if everybody always acted according to the truth, but that wouldn't be the truth. The primary driver of human behavior is not truth. It's perception of truth. And if you have any doubt in your mind that's true, just take all the crazy things going on in the world right now. You go into the Middle East. You got one ideology fighting another ideology. Both of them believe they know the truth, but they have a perception that governs their action, because if they're believing opposite each other, they both can't be believing the truth. So what is true is irrelevant. It's what people believe is true that matters. And so as you're building your business, you don't want to overlook that fact. And in fact, what you want to do is learn how to use appearances, framing, positioning to move people to move mountains. If people operate on the basis of perception, you, as an operator of your business, must become a master of perception, how people perceive you, how people perceive your business, how they perceive your product or service, how they perceive your contributions to their community or their society. You manage that process of perception. Now, I have to believe your government's a lot like mine. The politicians become masters of managing perception. We call it spin in the United States. Okay, something happens that we know is terrible, and the government's got an answer as to why it's fantastic, why this is good, why this was expected, why it is going to propel us forward. You have to learn to cut through all that stuff. That's part of your job as an entrepreneur, because ultimately you don't want to be managed by perception, because the natural instinct for all of us is to be managed by perception. So you want to be a little self-questioning. Is this really true? How could it be done differently? How could I do this in a different way? What is it that I could do that would propel me forward regardless of this belief that everybody else has? Those are some questions that you might want to ask yourself to move yourself forward.